Hi there, my name is Carlene Shawn from Kids Play Preschool, and I am the chair of the Medicine District Child Care Association.
Hi, I'm Sherry Jean from Mother Nature's Preschool and also a member of the Medicine District Child Care Association.
We're excited to be celebrating our 30th anniversary as an association this year. We have 70 members with over 300 early childhood educators. That includes everybody from preschools, daycares, out-of-school care, and family day home agencies. We recently had a conference here at the Medicine College, and we're excited to bring you the following session. Please enjoy.
Welcome back to Superhero Play, the Foundation of Moral Development. My name's Launa Clark. I'll be talking to you about some sensitive topics. Some of them we don't like to talk about as adults. Some of them get thrust upon us because of kids' curiosity. But I'm going to jump right into some pretty heavy ones that have great impact if we can just let our adult bias stay where it is, and that we can really enjoy children and the curiosity about what they have as a human existence. Superhero play is so strong. You know, you heard my Ninja Turtle story, right? I'm telling you, that was like 6 weeks of me like, nope, we're not having, no Ninja Turtles, none. And they're like, okay, teacher. And all of a sudden they would be like, Ninja Turtling. Oh, we're not Ninja Turtling. So I tried making it not allowed. I tried, you know what, you're not going to be able to play with each other if I see this again. How many times as adults do we do that, right? We try and impose our balance, our rules, all those things, right? When really, what I'm hoping this exercise did was let you be free in thinking what it is to be just imaginative about good and evil and all those things. So this last half will be more strategies. How do we make an environment where we have opportunities to engage that peace-promoting play, where we can talk about honor, justice, and mercy in ways that are non-threatening. Before we get headed into that, I wanted to finish off the first part with a question. What do you think about gunplay in your school, in your environment? You don't like it? Don't like it? No guns in school. But they got their finger, right? So it's the same as the Ninja Turtles. Like no guns in preschool. It's just like, what are you going to do? Take away their fingers? Like that's... So I just want to have a quick conversation about that. What do you think about, what do you do when kids are saying, "Here's my gun"?
I fell down and pretend I got shot.
Yeah. Really traumatized. Right? And how does that go over?
They think it's hilarious and they jump on me.
There you go. Ah, you're dead. Yeah. The thing we have to think about, there's a few things with this, and please share if you have experience, because I'm always interested in how people handle this, because it is an adult sensitive issue, right? If we think about, having refugee children in our programs, if we think of having children with parents that hunt, guns are part of their life. And so to demonize guns seems counterintuitive to building a strong human, right? Doesn't mean we don't have our own biases, right? I never bought a single purpose weapon to add to my play space. So no swords, no guns, none of those things. But I did not ban guns, right? So interestingly enough, when they start to have those conversations, I can jump in because it's the most extreme moment for children. Think about it. As a human, why does that word trigger for us? Because of the harm it can do, right? So think about it in the context of a 2-year-old who has no concept of adult understanding. You have to be concrete. Remember when you fell and you skinned your knee, how that hurt? This hurts way more if you're having a serious conversation about guns. So you have to talk about something that is they can understand, right? So what would be some examples of things that hurt, that naturally children just get hurt doing? A hangnail.
Exactly. And paper cuts. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I will whine about a paper cut for sure. What?
Falling off their bike.
Falling off their bike?
Tripping on the playground.
Skinning their knee.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry?
That was it. Running on the playground, tripping.
Yeah. Walking into something, right? Right? Those kind of things. Right? So that's where I always start in that conversation. If I'm going to have a serious conversation about guns, if somebody is super gunman, right? I'll start there. I said, do you know what guns really do? Like the kinds of guns you're talking about, and we'll talk about, you know how when you, whatever, how much that hurt? A gun will do that, and it can stop your breathing, and it can make your eyes so they don't open. Those are some of the conversations we've had, right?
I have a conversation with my son because he actually asked me if we respawn when we die. Because all the games he plays, he just respawn back.
Oh.
Yeah, he was only like 7, but he didn't play shooting games, but he knew about them at that point.
Yeah.
And even like in Minecraft and things like that, you just come back. So he genuinely thought that that's how it worked.
Yeah. And I'm finding that is more and more common with the introduction of video games, and it's just their world, it's their language, right? So a great conversation to have, right? In my preschool, I had a dad die in an avalanche, and then the son was in my preschool. And that taught me more about how children deal with death and grief than I think anything in any textbook. Right? So we have these conversations. They wanted to bring him to the preschool because that was normal, right? They were having, he actually lost his dad and his older brother in an avalanche. So in a small community, that brought us to the conversation about death, right? And so we had many conversations in that whole year of preschool, but some of the more poignant ones. I think I'm being a, good little teacher. And I show The Little Engine That Could, right? Do you know how the train gets buried by an avalanche? Do you know that happens in that show? I'd watched that show many times, the version I had. The engine gets stuck in an avalanche and can't get through, right? And so as I'm watching this, I'm watching the child at the same time. And I'm like, what have I done? Interestingly enough, what we did after is I just addressed it. I said, is there anyone who wants to talk about that show and the avalanche? Just if he wanted to, he was invited. If he didn't want to, he didn't have to. Well, interestingly enough, his hand shoots right up. I want to talk about it. My dad was killed by an avalanche, right? It's time for me to really follow the child's lead. Because if I start putting my adult emotion in this conversation, I'll be crying. Because I just hurt for him, right? Okay, tell us about it. What do you know about it? Well, it covered him up. He couldn't breathe through his nose or his mouth, and so his lungs don't work anymore. And then, like 3 and 4-year-olds do, well, how come he can't breathe anymore? And so I said, Miles, only if you're comfortable do you want to have this talk with your friends. It's like, yeah? Okay. So here's me in a very uncomfortable adult conversation, watching 3 and 4-year-olds have a very factual conversation, because he is now an expert on that kind of thing, because he's been curious. What happened to Dad? What happened to Miles, right? And so, that was my first time when I realized they know more about this if we are honest with them about the social emotional part, about the cognitive part. All of those things start to come together for them. He led that class for 45 minutes. He stood up there. There was no calendar time. There was no anything. It was a healing process for a little 3-year-old, 4-year-old at the time, just turned 4, who had lost his family members, and it was his chance to explain to the people around him that weren't crying, that weren't his mom, that weren't his other family members. He was to say, he stopped breathing, and he was very factual. This happened and this happened. And then one little girl asks, "Are you sad? Are you sad?" And he's like, "I miss him. I miss that he kisses me." And he started talking about the details that he missed in that situation. But if I would have put my adult bias on that conversation, we would have missed the entire opportunity for him, one, to be in charge of his life about that, and two, for him to get comfort and friendship and empathy from his peers. So the same thing can happen when we hit these really, really intense topics that we as adults are not even comfortable talking about. We're not. So another thing that I did, thinking it was about this time of year, I'm putting, you know how you have an overhead projector and it goes onto the roof, right? I'm just putting color mixing, and because, you know, things happen in color right now. So I'm mixing, so I dropped 2 things of blood. I gave away the punchline, right? I dropped 2 things of red, and it goes red, and it's on the ceiling. Again, same child. My dad's blood isn't red anymore. And I'm like, here we go again. Great. Again, check my adult bias, and I say, oh, well, there are some interesting things about blood. Right? And so he said, actually, you have to have air to make it red. Otherwise, it's blue. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But because he's had something so traumatic that's made him knowledgeable about that, right? So if I don't honor those conversations when they're coming up, remember the fast mapping that's happening? The more I can honor and let him build those pathways that are strong and clear, the more he's going to be able to manage it, understand it, get through it, right? So at that point I said, Lonnie, you better get your stuff together as a teacher. So I talked to him and his mom. I said, are you guys okay if we plant 3 plants and we talk about death? We'll take care of 1 plant, we'll put 1 in the dark, and we're just going to ignore 1 and see what happens to them. Are you okay if we do this, right? So they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so they even said, we'll plant them, right? This is a pretty incredible family of resilience. That's what I'm telling you the story. Anyway, so we did that, and we checked them every day, and we charted them. But it's all because we wanted to understand what it takes to sustain life. And so, again, this superhero play, this super intense, super aggressive, super emotional type play has a place if we, as the adults, can check our bias and be engaged and trust the play. You know when it's too far. You know if it's mean versus just rough and tumble. You know. How many of you are comfortable with really contact type play? Is there anyone? There's a few. It depends on the environment, maybe. Yeah. What's that?
With my own children or my own nephews, but in the school setting, like,
Yeah, in school, it's
it's a little harder. It's like we say, sometimes there's just too much paperwork for something that's hurt, right?
So that's a great observation. With our own children and the people that are family, we seem okay, right? We wrestle them all the time. That's such an innate part of development, human development, that it has opportunity for those children who never get that to happen within our environment. So there are some strategies like the mat I was telling you about this morning. Designate a spot. Have them understand and tell you the rules. They set the rules because they're the boss, right? Excuse me, right? You can have a space outside, but the thing you want to do about it is you want to talk to other adults. You know what? This scientifically is what children need for all the reasons that you know. So the way I'm supporting that is I have 3 spaces in my preschool where physical contact is allowed. Do you have any questions? What if someone's hurt? What if there's stitches? You know, like all those things, right? Well, answer them. There might be. Go ahead.
And sometimes it's also we're worried about parents.
Yeah, but parents.
Parents is like huge.
But it's understandable, right? They left you in charge of the most important possession they own, right? Not own, that sounds horrible. But they love them more than we ever could. And we do fall in love with the people that we care for, the little people, right? But we're not their parent. So we have to honor we're in a triad in that relationship. So if we're going to have a rough and tumble space, the more communication we can have about that, the better. The more we can talk to them, the more we can assure them that, you know what, if you want that strong, confident, amazing 20-year-old, you gotta let him be. You gotta let him explore that. You gotta let him do things that hurt, but not too much hurt. You know, then they can bounce back. And that's that type of play that we're talking about, that superhero, that super, when I say superhero, you're understanding it's just that really emotionally intense play, right? So those are just some things that I wanted to kind of wrap up the exploration we did earlier. And it's really important that you don't shy away from those conversations that are hard and that are adult biased. Guns are definitely one. Death is one. I hate you is one. What are some other ones?
We still have the zombie play sometimes too.
Oh, zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay, right? It's okay to stop some of the media-driven dialogue, but it's not okay to stop the emotions that are in there, right? So that's your job as an early childhood educator, is to get into that hard emotional conversation with a child and not put your own adult in it. You can be sad. I cried with the little boy who lost his dad when he was telling me. For sure I did. I love their family. You know, when you're with somebody that long, you do fall in love with them and you care about them, right? So I said that makes my heart so sad. I'm so sad that he can't be here to shake his hand and give him a hug. You just have to keep it about the child's perspective. If I went off and, oh, your mom's going to be so, you know what I mean? Then I'm defeating what the healing has to happen for him. It needs to stay concrete.
It's not about him anymore.
Exactly. It becomes about me, right? So when you get those really tough questions or learning moments, seize them. But tell you, put on your big girl panties, or maybe not you, maybe just your big ones. Just manage it, right? Like it's time to say, hey, this is 100% about the child. Let's keep it factual. Let's keep it real. And let's talk about it in honest, plain language. You know how we tried to change our superhero into children language? We have to do that with our emotional bias around those words that hurt. I still remember the first time my daughter told me she hates me. Oh, hates me. I think of it, hate all my adult experience with that word. Hate for her, strongest word she knows. She doesn't hate me. In fact, she still loves me to this day. But that's the strongest word she could figure out to say at that moment to show me how mad she was. So if I got stuck on the language, I'm missing the opportunity to say, whoa, you're really mad. What happened? I don't want it. You don't want what, broccoli today? I hate it. Okay, you hate broccoli and me, so we're probably good. You know what I'm saying? So don't get fearful in the language they use. Don't reinforce it. If it's bad, or not socially acceptable, you tell them that, hey, you know what? Sometimes when you say that word, people get their feelings hurt, they don't understand it, they think this is what you mean, so that they can internalize that to say, oh, I'm not meaning that. But if we just say, don't say that, it's like I did with my superheroes. No Ninja Turtles in preschool. We're not. They're not being true to themselves, and they're not learning that authentic language to communicate, right? Any other things before we move on of those hot buttons of conversation triggers for you independently?
It's not so much a hot button or even like a hard topic, but we have this little girl that's vegan in our classroom, and we let her tell everyone how she wants to eat, because it's very interesting how she can put different words into it. And like the kids will ask her questions, well, can you eat this? Well, can you eat this? And she'll be like, no, but I can eat this instead. Like,
Is that right?
yeah.
That's a great example of just human to human, right? That's her choice. Is she vegan from her own understanding, or that's her family practices?
That's her family.
Yeah. So again, another difference in humanity, right, in culture, that children will just talk about, right? I love that.
Play, she'll be like in the kitchen side, she's like, is this vegan? And then she takes a bite of her.
Is this a vegan plastic sandwich? Oh, great, great. All right, so I have a few slides here of different environments that we're going to take a look at. And I just want to call them peace-promoting play environments. So if we don't dress our environment up like superheroes, like Marvel-based superheroes, you're not going to get as much of it. They're going to come in because that's their family life, and that's great. Hey, did you guys go to that movie? It sounds like you and your dad had a great time. You focus on the relationship. Tell me, did you and your dad get popcorn? You don't say, hey, do you see the movie where he shot him and he's dead? No, you don't say that, right? We don't put our adult bias. We say, hey, that was a fun time with whoever you went with. All right, so X-ray vision, a light table with X-rays, right? So if you have a highly superhero-based group, use that language. Hey, you guys, I want to show you something. I want to see my X-ray vision. I can see in the bones of birds. You want to see? You want to see? Come on. Come on. Let's go. Come on. And they'll be like, okay, I'm going to be in charge. And when I turn on the light, you have to put these glasses on, because that's the only way you can see the bones of the birds. And they'll be like, what? Yeah. Right? If you've got that high energy, you can easily redirect it if you are part of that play. But you have to honor the storyline they've built. Just as you built storylines for all of yours, they have one that's probably more entrenched and not as flexible, right? So, okay, whisper, because superheroes sometimes need to be stealthy, right? Gotta be stealthy. So easily adding X-rays to the light table. I love light tables because there's all kinds of things you can do with that. There's the sand tables over the light table, the jewels that sparkle. What would be some of the conversations you could start to have? These gems are magical. You know what? If you touch them 3 times, let's count. 1, 2, 3. Now, when you hold it, you're the only one who knows how powerful you are, right? Put it in your pocket and then no one will see it. And then I'm always like, and you're like, yeah, I'm so strong, right? There's all the natural things, right? You can see how the body works, what's in the land. What about this one? Sorry? Like for superhero conversation, yeah. Magic potions, right? But look at how fun it is set up. And guess what? There's chokables in there. Yeah, for sure. But guess what? They're also glue gunned together, so they can't take them apart, right? But it just took me a Sunday afternoon, just thinking about this. Let's put it together. So you put it in there, you throw in a few little books because, you know, literacy is important, right? But that was played with so much, and it was always, when I reorganized and put it back, that was one of the first things. Okay, where are the potions? Where are the potions? And they'd put it together and all those things. This was at a day home I went to. This was their quiet area, but it's also the bat cave for a while, right? So if you just put a blanket over a table, you have a cave. You have whatever superhero kind of hideaway there is. But it also brings the energy level down. So you know how children go, right? So if you need them to calm down, rather than say, hey, calm down, they won't, because they're so in an altered state. They're not just playing. They are engrossed in learning and brain development. So if you have a special space and you are invited into the play, hey, let's go to the bat cave. Come on, come on. I don't want to go there. No, we have to find out because I think they see us. I think they see us. And we run to the bat cave and we take a minute and we talk in whispering voices because that's what superheroes do and they don't want to be found out, right? It's not, superhero play is not a play you can guide from the outside. It is not a play you can say, hey, you in the back, stop it. It'll be like, they're just vibrating. No, they're ready to go. They're so engrossed. It is happening in their brain as if it's real. There's a very cool thing that happens in the brain between around 4-ish, is that reality and fantasy are blended. So everything feels real. Crazy, right? So that's when we start saying, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I saw you. And they're like, no, I really. Because in their brain, the reality and the fantasy have equal space. And that's great. But it's also our role. Okay, let's think about that. Was that really real or was that just pretend real? Right? Rather than making them feel discarded of ideas or negative about themselves, we have to really be careful in that space. All right, outside, those logs in the back can be special spots to another land. Maybe your teleportress can go there. What about those days you just can't go outside? In Alberta, we have a few, right? And that's when the superhero play usually ends up driving everybody crazy, right? That super intense play. Well, what if you set up a few things like this in your hallway? And you had to guide it, though. You have to be involved in it. You can't just be cleaning the kitchen. Hey, you guys, I put some hula hoops in the hallway. No, hey, okay. Now, if you touch inside the hula hoops, that's where the danger is. So don't go in there, right? I had a little guy who jumped up on the wall. It was like, anyway. But they will know. They will use their body to the max. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. That's what their brain is telling them. For children that are like that, they are strong, confident with their ideas. It's your job to start to pull that back to a self-regulation, to self-understanding, self-awareness, social context, without damaging their self-esteem. Good luck. No, just kidding. This was an interesting thing at the Chicago Children's Museum. Every class period had a different mobile, and then they had it on a pulley and they would pull it up and then bring it back down when it was that. And that was for continuity. So if you want children to get past the explore play into that really, you know how when you built community it was easier because you thought about it and you had something tactile? The same thing for them. If you want to have long attention spans, if you want to continue to grow that capacity to learn deeper, you have to have repetitive things so they don't have to explore them to know what they are. So in this case, this could be anything, right? This could be anything. So when you bring it down, maybe you add new materials, and at the end of class, you would pull it back up, and you could start the conversation over again. Sometimes they call it a project approach. All right. So just a little philosophical thought. Do we think superheroes are bad role models for kids? Better not after this class, eh? Yeah, no, Lana, they're good. Right? Well, sometimes in society they get labeled that way, right? Oh, yeah. I have a nephew. He is like a superhero fiend. He loves all of them. But I would have to say no, just if we're looking for a yes or no space to this. But I just want to be really clear, it's not the media-based superhero that's the strength. That storyline is one way to think about that superhero. It's your job to get invited into that play and change the storyline over time. Superhero play has long been thought of as violent, aggressive, and disruptive. Yet, I see parents and caregivers buying items after items that is connected to superhero marketing. So you can't say, as a parent or a caregiver, superhero play is bad and then buy them everything Spider-Man, including the webs and the whatever, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the big gloves, the hands.
Yeah. If you buy them, you have to be ready for that play because it re-promotes the storyline that goes with that commercial-based product. It's not to say it won't be in your program. They love it. It's their interest. But you have to be so intentional about the use of it and the dialogue you're willing to have about it. So I think we touched on this. Adults feel challenged by superhero play because of the aggressiveness. Is that fair? Yeah. So I have a mom quote. I said, asked her about superhero play, and this is what she said. So off the top of my head, I think superhero play helps him know that he can change the world for good. He has a personality where he wants to help people, and being a superhero, he can do that. That's pretty good. It's a different frame on it. And I know her son, and he is a superhero to the max, right? So if she's able to still say, and he wants to help people, and that's what I'm focusing on, then you're building confidence, you're building a vocabulary of empathy, you're building lots of different things that can help that child. I told you this story earlier, so you don't have to hear it again. Any questions about that before I move on? It changed my whole trajectory about play, honestly. Yeah.
Did it change the dynamic of your room? Because you had said that the parents before were saying your room was crazy. Did
Yeah.
it brought everything down and changed those parents' mind?
You bet it did. By the end of end of the year, they were definitely amazed, as was I.
Yeah, they stopped doubting you.
What's that?
They stopped doubting you.
Yeah. Actually, some of my board left because they couldn't accept the play philosophy, and that was fine. But in the end, it was really the strength of the play. Like, I knew from that moment on, I will never try to guide children when they're in that intense state from the outside again. Yeah. And it did. It changed. And then my new board came, and 2 of them were those little Ninja Turtles parents came onto the board. Because at home, it slowed down the play too, right? Into that more conscious play rather than just rote destructive play. Mm-hmm. So superheroes, some of their qualities, they're questionably good, sometimes a little odd, right? They possess powers children wish they had. We all wish we could fly, see through walls, any of those type of things, right? They solve every problem. Can you imagine how good that would feel? I'm here to save the day. Super solar power woman will hover over you and fix you. Right?
And that might be the only part of their lives they feel like they're having control of, or the only problems they feel like they're able to solve.
Perfect. Exactly. And why take that away? If we want them later to solve those problems, they've got to have some confidence from somewhere to try things like that, right? There's some, yeah?
In our center, we have the Playing to Learn philosophy. Even if the kids are studying on cards, we don't discourage them. So we help them. Oh, you want to use it with a roller skate? So we help them, we encourage them. And we don't say, no, they can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it. It's their cards, no rollerblades.
Yeah.
And we, even if it's like superhero, we encourage it.
Yeah.
Like we don't say, no, you won't do it. With guns, the same thing with guns. We don't discourage. We just talk to them about guns.
Yeah.
Like there's fights sometimes with parents and guns, and then it's like, well, they can bring them, but they sit in the cubby because guns need to be locked in a place, in a safe place. So we lock them in the cubby and then outside.
Yeah.
So then we don't fight for that
Yeah.
because they said they need to be safe. We just don't know there's bad guys coming in.
Yep. Yikes. As long as their enemy doesn't come in.
So,
Yeah.
and I said, well, it's their talk, so we can't change that.
Yeah.
And they're good with that. Like parents are not fighting with them anymore about guns.
It's just a
So
little bit of.
They always know they buy guns. Like, why do I buy guns if you don't want your kids to play with it?
Yeah. They say in peace promoting environments, you don't have those single purpose toys anyway. And so that's a perfect example. Guns do need to be locked away with, so what do we do? Yeah, absolutely. You had a comment?
I was just thinking about like anti-heroes that are considered heroes, like Deadpool, because that's
Deadpool. I haven't seen him at the preschool yet. Yeah, you have to talk about that in a different way, right? If it's just really not socially something strong. So you're in out of school care, right? So do you have that sometimes? Yeah. So what do you say and do?
That's something we're still working on, I think, honestly.
That's why I asked the question. Well, it goes back to those core values. What are you trying to teach that child? So you ask him those questions. Okay, so he's kind of twisted and wrong. What is he good at? What are things that wouldn't be acceptable in your classroom, in the playground? You have to start making it tactile so they start to differentiate what they like and what they don't like. Yeah. And it's through relationship again. You have to have the trust of them to do that. Superheroes know what's right and wrong. They just know. Think about us like there's so much, well, it's a little bit this, it's a little bit that. Nope, superheroes, yep, no, done. And they receive accolades and recognitions from powerful adults. It's the ultimate reward, right? Behavior modification would love this kind of stuff, right? Okay, the mayor gives you a badge or whatever it is, right? So that's where you can implement some of that into your own classroom. If you want to have superhero badges for kindness, for helping me clean up, for, hey, thank you for the superhero. Can you wear this badge for me today? Something like that. Another mom quote, he loves the science behind superheroes, how they became who they are and how they had to work hard to become that. Example, he loves Tony Stark because he's a scientist and knows how things work. If Tony didn't work hard and learn, he would have never created Iron Man. So there's a storyline that you can pull out about scientists. Then you can go into scientists if that person's really, that child's really interested in that kind of technical space, right? So just a few things that make superhero play so they feel powerful. They have undying friendships. Yeah.
I was going to say, there's the last slide that you used to have this little boy that mom and dad had been divorced. And so then his favorite superhero was Iron Man.
Yeah.
And so, but we had two staff scouring through all the Iron Man movies to see if we can find one little clip about Iron Man being nice to his mom. Because in the divorce, he was taking dad's side. There's only two.
Yeah.
So then we did find the very shortest clip, and that actually made a big difference in his home. It was just that 30 seconds.
Yeah. 30 seconds changed the mind. But he's related to it so much that he could understand it. What a great strategy. What a great strategy. So they feel powerful. They have friendships. My 4 Ninja Turtles would wait at the door until their friends were coming. They would see them coming in the window. They're here, they're here, right? And so that friendship is so strong. They don't want to play with anyone else. They love that person so much. They express hope. It's not scary to say, I'm going to change the world or whatever, right? It's such a bold profession of hope. They can also be scared. Oh no, he's going to get me, right? And so it allows that emotional space to play with those emotional learnings. Am I good or bad? Well, I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy, right? It's clear, right? And that's where you get to guide. I was the bad guy so many times, I can't even tell you. I should get a badge. Oh, big one. What is death? You get to talk about those things in a safe way, right? What is fair? I don't know. My daughter did this slide for me, so that's where you're getting a few of these extra things. And we talked about that at the beginning. So superhero play enables children to make concrete ideas regarding ideas in our society's values, but which are abstract and difficult to understand, such as honor, justice, courage, and mercy. Right? Those are things we don't talk about easily because they're not a tangible thing. So I want to just show you, and so here's my nephew, Chuck. He loves superheroes, loves them. But, so his parents embrace that. But instead of just promoting superheroes are strong, right? So they enter in the Spartan race, and he goes all the way through. You can see right here, he's climbing in the mud. He goes over everything, right? But look at him and his dad enjoy the celebration of relationship together using those superhero spaces. You know, superheroes are strong. They do help each other when you need it and all those things, right? So their culture and their family embraced it, and they're able to build relationships around that. And so here's the ending quote, and then I'll just take a few questions. I think superhero doesn't always win every battle. It's okay to die sometimes. When we do, we have to take a step back, look at the villain, and think of new ways to approach the problem. But we always continue to try. Good will always win. So thank you for spending the afternoon with me. We're out a little bit early. I have some more, but I can tell you're done. You're tapped out with the learning, so I'm not going to keep talking at you. But I really hope you take this time, and if anything, it just gives you some more tools in your toolbox when you're talking with children. And if it changed your mindset a little bit about how to approach it, that's great, because I know workshops can sometimes be one-offs, but I hope you can do something with it tomorrow that makes you feel like you're adding to either your own children or the children you serve. So thank you for taking a Saturday with me. Some of you took me all the way through, so I thank you for that, and we'll go from there.
Thank you for watching the previous session. I hope you enjoyed it. Medicine District Child Care Association has been active for the past 30 years. We have supported the early childhood community by providing workshops, creating partnerships with various agencies. If you'd like more information, you can find us at www.mhdcca.com. Thanks for watching.